Okay, now that we know how to retopologize, there are just a few more details that I'd like to put into our mesh before we go through the retopology process. For example, I'd like to work on this face a little bit more, get a little bit sort of more geometry, like have eye sockets and places for eyelids. Maybe work on this mouth a little bit more. I'm not thinking that I'm going to create a fully working mouth because it's not in the skeleton, and really I just want to get this character into UDK and don't want to sort of mess around with facial animations too much. So I won't worry about a fully sort of articulated or mouth bag, as they call it. So I'm just mainly going to focus on the eyes and getting some of the details of the face. So I'm going to switch off perspective just so that I can get a nice clean line. Control Shift to get that area, and I'll tap the F key a couple of times just to frame that up. Don't need those shoulders, so holding Control and Shift and then holding Alt to get rid of that. And I'm just going to hide the skeleton because I don't need to worry about that. Alright, so let's see what sort of facial features we want. I've just reopened ZBrush, and so my tools are at their default settings. So I'm just going to make sure that I have move available and inflate. One of these days I should really learn the alphabet so that I know where inflate is. There. Okay. And I just like to have those there, and I should really make it a default that they're always there, but you know. Okay, I'm going to tap L to make sure my lazy mouse is off, and I'm going to take my Z intensity down. And let's just sort of carve out a bit of a socket here. And we want the eye to sort of bulge out from this socket. The eyelids, or suggestion of eyelids, will come out from there. Smooth it back just to sort of make it more of that sort of spherical shape. Now, if you were going to be forming this as pretty much your main detail, I'd first recommend that you go to a lot more detail with the resolution of your Dynamesh, but also you can bring in the you can append a couple of polyspheres for eyeballs. But I will do that later on when I've sort of more retopologized this character. So now I'm just going to come in and sort of just exaggerate some of these details out a little bit better. This nose, just going to push that in a little bit. So add a little bit more definition, delineation between one side and the other. And also work on this brow. And so just sort of alternate between building up and cutting in and smoothing. There we go. And I'm just going to put in a couple of sort of troughs there. Between the troughs, I'm going to put ridges. Or if you want, you can put the troughs between the ridges. Ridges between the troughs. There we go. That's looking a little bit more serious, less cutesy. And just draw on the underside of this eyebrow just to bring this down a bit. Another thing that we're going to want is a suggestion of an ear. So I'm just going to sort of draw an oval here, and I might take my size down a bit. And just sort of draw out something like that. Just have a suggestion of a reptilian sort of ear, which is more a sort of more like an open drum to the air rather than anything with a lobe. I think sort of mammalian. And most of these details won't sort of really stick around at this resolution, but it's good to sort of have that suggestion there, just as shorthand for yourself. And with the smaller draw size, I might also come in a little bit more detail around this eye. And because there is going to be an eyeball behind these eyelids, just give yourself a little bit more of a spherical shape than you think you might need. It can be sort of more an oval might seem better, but if you're going to actually put eyeballs in there, just make it a little bit more spherical than you would think. Now I'll come in and do something about this mouth. So yeah, just going to bring out this lip just a little bit, not too much, because that would be too sort of mammalian or humanoid. Reptiles have very sort of thin lips. And their jaws are generally not pointed forward. It's more of a humanoid thing. But you know, if you want a more humanoid creature, that's fine. And larger draw size. Because, you know, I don't know many reptiles that stand on two legs and have very humanoid hands either, so there's no need to get too caught up in what is reptilian and what isn't. Like this sort of nice long jaw this guy has. And just sort of exaggerate that chin just enough to sort of make it strong enough to be impressive. So there we go, that's looking a little bit better there. And normally I'd re-dynamesh at this stage, but because we're so close to actually retopologizing, I might leave it just so that I can leave these details in here. I did want to think about maybe having little mini horns coming out of the cheekbones here, but I can probably do that in the retopology stage or just after the retopology stage. Now, if you're watching this video and you have your own ideas of which way I should be going with this and which way looks better, and you think, oh, I would have done that the other way, I would have pushed that in where you pulled that out. That's good. That means that you're thinking sort of artistically and creatively. And that's usually the sign of somebody who's going to be a good sculptor. So you should be proud of the fact that you don't agree with every choice that I make. For example, that looks a bit goofy, doesn't it? Just sort of bring that in a little bit there and there, just so that there's a suggestion of those muscles, but it's not too sort of outlandish. So yeah, that's not too bad. And I'll just bring everything back. Draw that down, and then with a smaller draw size, bring in these sort of spine bumps. The vertebrae are going to get smaller as they get closer to the skull. It's looking a little bit Bosque-like, Trandoshan, and we won't mention where that's from because last time I had problems just mentioning that. So there we go. Now let's just see what would happen if we were to redynamesh. That's not too bad. I don't mind that. It's a little bit of a loss, but yeah, we're going to be retopologizing anyway, so I might actually see if I can get those horn shapes in. So I wanted these to be a little bit narrower than that, yeah, something like that. Just getting that topology there. Okay. Fix some of that collapsed cheekbone. Let's see, how does he look? They're sticking out a little bit too wide. Sometimes you have to go a bit far one area and then sort of bring it back. Okay. One thing I might have a look at is to see if this will work. Alright. So making him look a little bit more sort of draconic, a little bit less cute face goat man. And too much. So give your character flow. So yeah, I want these to be just sort of ridges rather than actually sort of mini horns. So I'm just going to come in and sort of separate these out just a little bit. And do the same for these. So these are sort of similar to the little spikes on the sides of the tail. Again, sort of calling back that idea of the stump-tailed lizard, or a blue-tongued lizard, where the head and the tail have similar geometry as to confuse predators. So I'm pretty happy with that. I might just sort of give the suggestion of new bumps here. There we go. So that's looking a little bit more formidable. One thing that's bugging me is these are a little bit too flat. That's slightly better. Okay, and I think we're probably ready for retopology. So I'll do that in the next lesson, possibly in a fast forward video so that you don't have to sit through and watch me place every point on this guy. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, share, and all that stuff. Thanks for watching.